Welcome, race fans. Today it is 94 days until Daytona.
This is Talking Track.
With Chrissy.
And I'm Joe.
And that's Bella.
Hey race fans, like we said in the intro, today is 94 days until the Daytona 500. The car 94 hasn't been terribly successful throughout its career. Even though it was driven by Bill Elliott for 185 of those races, it really didn't see too much success. The number 94 throughout the years has actually been raced 531 times. It never actually saw victory lane at any point of its history, but has seen 4 poles. The first time the 94 car sat on the pole was in 1991 with Terry Labonte. Then Bill Elliott put it on the pole twice in 1995, followed by the last time in 1997. We'll talk a little bit more about Bill Elliott in a minute, but we're going to fill you in on the last time the 94 car hit the track. That was actually in 2004 with Stanton Barrett. He drove 5 races that season. He unfortunately didn't see a whole lot of success over his career, only racing for 6 seasons. His best start in the 94 car was 20th. He started there 2 different times. His worst finish was 43rd. His average starting position though was 36th, and average finishing position was 38th, reflected his career over 5 years. His best finish though was 17th, though it was a non-points race. It was the Nextel Open at Charlotte. Aside from Stanton Barrett driving it in 2004, the last time we really saw it hit the track was from 1995 to 2000, where our good old buddy Awesome Bill from Dawsonville drove it for those 5 seasons. He was actually owner-driver during that time period. Like I mentioned, he started driving that car in 1995, only after leaving Junior Johnson's team in 1994. Though traditionally Bill Elliott has been known to drive the 9 car, and we actually see Chase Elliott drive that same number right now. He chose the 94 car after his nephew, Chrissi Elliott, ended up getting cancer in one of his thigh bones. Unfortunately though, sad to say that Chrissi ended up passing in 1996 at the very young age of 21. We actually saw Chase Elliott this season do a throwback to Chrissi's car at Darlington this year. Chrissi drove that paint scheme originally in the Slim Jim All-Pro series. It's no longer around. NASCAR actually made it a defunct series not too long after. In Bill Elliott's initial season as owner-driver, he didn't do too bad, finishing 8th in point standings. Unfortunately, for the next year as owner-driver, Bill Elliott was involved in a pretty bad crash. He broke his hip and had to sit out several races that season. Some of his replacement drivers were Dorsey Schroeder, Todd Bodine, Bobby Hillin Jr., and my man, Tommy Kendall. Bill Elliott also asked Harry Gant to come out of retirement to drive in that year's All-Star race at Charlotte. Bill Elliott did end up making a speedy recovery and returned to full-time racing for the 1997 season. Bill Elliott ended up running all 32 points races that season, having 4 top 10s, and finished another 8th place in the points, just like he did in the 95 season. During that 97 season, we saw the introduction of one of my more favorite schemes, the Mac Tonight scheme. Love this scheme. I think it's wicked cool. Because Bill Elliott ended up partnering with McDonald's and having some pretty decent success, he went to a multi-million-dollar operation the following season, 1998. During that time, NASCAR was starting to really climb up with popularity here in America, and especially with actually some of the other sports stars. This particular season, during the off-season, he teamed up with Dan Marino, renaming his Bill Elliott Racing team to Elliott Marino Racing. Though that year, unfortunately, marked another year of sadness for Bill Elliott as his father ended up passing away that year. His replacement driver ended up actually having a pretty good career of his own, winning the 2003 championship. And that's none other than Matt Kenseth. He actually made his first career start for Bill Elliott at Dover that 1998 season. Matt Kenseth ended up finishing 6th in that career debut race. For the 1999 season, we saw a few other drivers take the wheel behind that 94 car for Bill Elliott. For one race each, we saw Rick Mast, Mike Skinner, and Sterling Marlin drive that 94 car. This is actually something I didn't know until I started looking into this. David Green also wheeled the 94 car in the 2000 season 2 different times for Bill. Bill Elliott unfortunately didn't have the best 1999 season, and so his partnership with Dan Marino ended up going away, returned back to just a single owner team. Then in his last season as owner-driver in 2000, it was announced pretty early in the season that he would be selling his equipment. This was the kickstart to the famed Ray Evernham racing. It was also announced that year that Dodge would be returning back to NASCAR, and due to the exchange with Ray Evernham and Bill Elliott, Ray Evernham tapped Bill Elliott to drive his car. Bill Elliott relinquished the owner duties, but still retained the driver's side of that deal. It was also announced at that point that Bill Elliott would be returning back to his famous number 9. I remember being a kid watching through those years. In 1995, I was actually 10. And it was pretty cool watching Bill Elliott drive that McDonald's car, especially some of those special paint schemes. Like this Mac Tonight I'd mentioned, where he drove in 1997. He also did a pretty cool partnership with the Batman Forever movie with Val Kilmer, which probably wasn't one of the best movies, but not too bad anyways. Where I remember at that time there wasn't a whole lot of special paint schemes going on, so it was pretty rare to see a car change from their traditional yearly paint scheme. Now today's race cars and sponsorships, you basically see it almost changing every week. And thanks to the Darlington Throwback, we get to see some of these really cool paint schemes come back onto the track. The first real paint scheme that actually comes to my mind was this 1997 Mac Tonight paint scheme. That's why I have it in my hands now. I thought it was so cool. Not that we really ate a whole lot of McDonald's growing up as a kid. We were a Burger King family. And we did see BK Racing eventually do a sponsorship there a few years later. One of the more famous paint schemes that we did see was in 1995 with that Batman Forever paint scheme. In 1998, Matt Kenseth drove one of those special paint schemes, the Groovin' Mac paint scheme, which ended up being pretty Groovin' Matt. In 1999, we saw 2 different paint schemes driven by Bill Elliott. The first one was the Toy Story 2 movie debut paint scheme. Pretty cool. You got to see Buzz Lightyear and Woody and the whole gang. Another one was the QPC Code game that McDonald's was put on, where you could win $1 million that season. Another one that we saw hit the track was last year as owner-driver in 2000 when we saw the McFlurry car come out. I remember the McFlurries being a big deal back then too, so it was a nice tie-in between McDonald's and Bill Elliott. Some other more recent drivers that you saw driving that 94 car was Sterling Marlin. He drove the 94 car for 59 races through the 1989 and 1990 season. The next year, Sterling Marlin left for another team, and one of the cooler drivers in my opinion, because we share the same birthday, November 16th, which is actually tomorrow. We saw Terry Labonte drive that 94 Sunoco sponsored car for 2 seasons and 58 races from 91 to 92. Thanks for stopping by and taking a look at the more modern day history of the 94 car. We'll see you at Daytona.